and welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, and we got Cat, one of Storm of Swords, on deck.
So, Jeff, I feel like you're about to just tear into her. Like, you don't like Cat, and this is like the chapter where like Cat is basically just like, she just shit the bed.
This is going to be my first, I mean, maybe it's this book. I did say going into this that I heard it was the worst. You guys loved it. But this is 2 for 2 on bad chapters, man.
Not a great chapter. I feel like it's a kind of a recap chapter.
Yeah.
Like there's parts where like there's like kind of spelling out stuff that like if you just read the last book, you know, like oh, Bran and Rickon were killed by Theon, Ned's ward, and it's like, okay, well, why are we spelling everything out? Like we know who all these people are, and I feel like it's just a little bit of a recap.
That's fair.
The thing that just really grinds my gears about this chapter is that she made one of the biggest decisions that could have possibly made in the realm with no regard to not one other soul.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll leave it at that.
I agree that it's a boring chapter with Kyle, but what I was saying more like with my comment to Jeff is like Jeff always says like Cat's the worst. I think this is like the worst thing that by far the Cat's done so far.
And that's what I was trying to say too, I guess. I mean, maybe I said that wrong, but
and she defends it because she's got the mother's right. And okay, you might save. Best case scenario for her plan is she saves 2 people.
Yep. Exactly.
Worst case scenario is they get back Jaime and thousands more continue to die.
Yeah. Does Jaime? Yeah. I mean, Jaime is definitely a bigger turning point. I don't know if you can say that Jaime's would directly be responsible for 1,000. You know what I mean? But he's a way bigger piece.
I'm saying the war continues,
and they still have your girls, and you're in a worse spot than you just were.
Yes.
Yeah. It wasn't a well thought out plan, and I mean, it seemed from the past at least that she was a little quicker than that, I guess. I mean, she's done some brash stuff before with like the whole Tyrion and everything, but at the same time, like this just seemed, like you said, like she just completely took it upon herself to do what she thought was best only for herself. And even then it was maybe 30% chance of going, and I never know if we should jump ahead, but then like at the end she finds out that like it might not even happen at all. Like all the people she was counting on might be dead or missing or whatever. Like
it was something that I think I said to Jeff in the spoiler section. Like I think one of like just because I was waiting to talk about to this chapter, but like Cat should have known that like of the situation in King's Landing, but I guess not. I guess I thought that Cat knew of the Blackwater. I think I was saying that in the spoiler section last time, but here it sounds like she's hearing about it the first time.
She has no idea.
I mean, she definitely didn't know. It sounds like she probably didn't even know that they fought. Like she probably thought it sounded like she thought Edmure was still fighting Tywin. Right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I'm retracting my statement that I said yesterday, and whenever I said that Cat should have known about that, but because here she's finding out the first time. Still, like you have to know that things are very fluid.
Yeah,
change it on time.
All right, let's jump in and we'll continue to hit on some of these. I don't know, either drop the ball moments by Cat or just like what the fuck's she doing type shit. Yeah. But all right, so Sir Desmond Grell and another cat named Eutherides. Eutherides.
I think when people say this guy's name, it's normally Authorize.
Authorize.
But what you said makes just as much sense based on.
I was going like Greek mythology. Eutherides.
If I would have had to say it, I would have said Eutherides, something like that too. But based on I know other people
Eutherides.
Yeah.
Right.
Authorize.
We're gonna say
authorize a paper.
I'm gonna say Wayne instead. So Sir Desmond and Wayne are in front of Cat.
Yeah, I like Wayne.
She's known these two for a while. Desmond has worked his way up from knight to Castleton.
Master at Arms. So he's Desmond and Castleton, you're right. But he's like the Roderick.
Because at Edmure's away, he's now Master at Arms, or was that always part of the title?
He was always Master at Arms in terms of like Roderick. He's the one who trains everyone. He's now Castellan. He's the one who's in charge of the castle while Edmure's away.
Yeah.
So yeah. And Authorized Wayne is the steward who Vayon Poole was in Winterfell, but I think the Jane Poole's dad, we haven't heard of him from since everything went down in Game of Thrones. So I don't know if Winterfell has a steward right now, but it was Vayon Poole.
So I guess this is kind of like the pre-sentencing or like at least the like what the
just a
fuck are you
discussion.
doing? Yeah.
It's weird because she feels like she's kind of higher ranking than these guys, or like she has a lot of respect. Maybe not necessarily higher ranking. They're the ones in charge while Edmure's gone. But like it's hard. They feel very uncomfortable sentencing their lord's daughter while their lord's sick and Edmure's away.
At least
they,
one
They don't
does.
want this responsibility. They don't want to. They don't want to have anything to do with this.
I feel like Wayne might be a little bit angrier, or
He stays behind and says something, right?
yeah, he gives her a little bit of a snotty deal. So like basically it starts with them trying to give her like kind of a way out. Like, we understand like what you went through, like, oh my god, the pain through this all, like, all right, you made a mistake, right? Or trying to sugarcoat it a little bit.
Yeah. The mother's madness. And she's like, no, I knew everything I was doing and I knew it was treason. Basically, she's telling them that they have to punish her. And her suggestion is to, like, put me in Jamie's place.
Yeah.
Maybe not a suggestion, but she's like, if you have to do that, I'll deal with it.
Whatever the consequences are right now, give them to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think she's accepting responsibility, right? Like, it's what, and she's like, you can't, like, your job is at risk here, and I understand that. This is my fault. You have to do your job.
Yeah, if you don't punish me, it'll make you look bad.
Because, like you were saying, I mean, I know I'm going to use princess, but Hoster is the king, essentially, of the castle.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's essentially, like, she does kind of outrank them, especially when...
Yeah, absolutely. I guess once treason's committed, are you almost stripped of everything?
Yeah,
or
I mean,
like,
and you have to...
At least while you're up for the crime?
Yeah, you have to maintain some semblance of order, or else everything falls apart,
Yeah.
So she then throws out to stay in her daddy's room.
Yeah, they agree on confinement. Like, you're just going to be, like, basically locked in your bedroom. And she's like, well, just lock me in my dad's bedroom because he's dying so I can spend, like, his last days with him. And they're like, okay, deal. And they seem kind of, like, glad to be done with it.
Do you think that was a little... We know she ends up spending most of her time on the balcony, too. Do you think she did that so she could try and just... Like, I don't know where her bedroom is. Her bedroom might be just as high with just as good of a balcony. But
I don't know. The Lord's chamber is probably pretty dope. And she hasn't been here for a while. It's not like she's...
It's probably awesome. And I'm sure she wants to be... I'm just saying, like, do you ever think it... I mean, it's in her mind, this chapter, but, like, I wonder if I can see out and see what's going on still.
Oh, that's a good point.
If I'm up on the balcony.
Tabs on, yeah.
I think she wants to be with her dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little bit both.
So
mostly dad. And that's the thing that Authorized Wayne says right when they leave is he says, hey, just so you know, Robin Ryger has been sent after Jamie. And we know how that turned out. But
yeah, but she doesn't know yet. And she's also able to go to the Sept. But that's the only spot. So she heads up to her father's room, and she immediately, after hearing, and I think she mentions that, of course, they were going to send out Ryger to go get him once she was gone. But she's looking in the stream to see if she could see a ship returning from the east. No
Nothing.
sign.
Yep.
Nope. Then she goes and sits with Papa.
Yep. She doesn't even think that he is, like, lucid enough to realize that she's there. But he does start chirping a lot this chapter.
I would say before he starts chirping too, this is just like one of her big thoughts is like, what would he have done in my shoes if it was him and Lysa in captivity and he was here?
Me and Lysa instead of Sansa and Arya, and him in my shoes.
Right.
Yeah. Would he have risked everything?
What would he have done would you risk everything and give back
0% chance Hoster would have done this.
No way.
That was going to be my guess too. Yeah. Probably not.
I'm sorry, but he already had a son probably at this point, right? If the ages lined up, like say Sansa and Arya or Cat and Lysa were Sansa and Arya's age, Edmure was probably born.
Yeah.
And
actually, I was looking up ages today because they kind of get into it with Lysa's marriage, like how the ages were weird. So I was looking up those, but I actually didn't look up Edmure, so I'm not sure.
Well, I don't think he would have pushed all those chips in. So she doesn't really even give an insight, like on the personality of her father, what she thinks he would have done. Yeah,
she just kind of like says it to herself.
And
says the question to herself.
The room smells like death.
Well, I think he kind of does explain a little bit his side through his Tansy thing, right?
Okay.
Like, Like he did essentially what needed to be done to try and firm up the realm, right?
Yeah. So what's up with the whole Tansy thing, right?
At the cost of, I mean, again, like I said before, I kind of hate jumping too far ahead, but like he's about to say the name Tansy.
Yeah, we're in it. I mean, we're in it for sure. So,
but like, so Lysa, he pretty much forced an abortion on her, or like something happened during a childbirth for her or pregnancy.
Kat concludes, yeah, she lost a child very early in pregnancy. And Hoster feels guilty about it. Yep.
Yeah. And there's like tons of blood and like, but then she like sent her away to get married to the Aarons.
Which is kind of where the age thing comes in, right? Like,
yeah,
Kat's thinking like, oh my God, like the reason that John would take Lysa is because she's known to be fertile. His first 2 wives had left him childless. His brother's son had been murdered with Brandon Stark in King's Landing. His gallant cousin had died in the Battle of the Bells. He needed a young wife if House Aaron was to continue, a young wife known to be fertile.
Which gives more credence to the fact that he forced an abortion of some sort, because they probably wouldn't trust a miscarriage to mean somebody is fertile, right?
That's true.
And I think the other point would be that she wasn't a virgin. If she had a bastard child, it would be frowned upon on her.
Little finger.
On her as a match.
Yeah, Kat says that later. Like, John Aaron came from a proud family. He would have been dutiful and like accepted her, but he wouldn't have been happy to bring like a woman who was soiled and like unwilling to his bed, is like I think the words Kat uses. So like, bastard or not, yeah, like you're saying, she's not a virgin. But that's kind of like how I guess you prove that she's fertile at the same time.
Yeah, it is strange.
Do you think Hoster was up front? I guess that proves that she's fertile, right? That's the whole point of. But that's really a Kat thought, right? She's kind of implying.
Exactly. Everything here is how Kat's putting this together. But she seems confident enough that she fires off a letter to Lysa about it. So some of the thing that doesn't make sense to me though is, what's Tansy? The one thing that Kat suggests was Tansy a pet name for Lysa? And okay, if that makes everything make sense. But if it wasn't a pet name for Lysa, then what's Tansy? Like where
the child's name?
Okay, the child's name.
Or it was her Tansy, okay. Like her little
doesn't
flower.
Kat say that they both? So Kat says they got married.
Yeah, and their moon blood
both of their husbands. But both of their husbands had to go off to war immediately. But then they were both late.
So they consummate.
But then Lysa
marriage.
wasn't late.
They consummate the marriage right away. Yeah, and then they go off.
Kat didn't have it because she was pregnant. Lysa just ended up being late. Right, is kind of what Kat had concluded originally.
Well, yeah, when she was of that age, right?
I guess what I'm saying there is, are you naming? Do you have a name Tansy picked out after a month?
I don't know customs back then.
I mean, maybe it was later than a month. Maybe like I said, it was just like a nickname for it because it's her little flower growing inside of her. My little Tansy.
Gotcha.
Who knows?
Because that's what they do say. They do say it's a flower.
Yeah. But I mean, didn't who was in the first chapter?
Chet.
Chet, didn't he pick Tansies for that girl?
He did.
Yeah, so I mean that's my guess is that it's the child.
You know what's funny? Okay. I have a great aunt named Pansy.
Because he says that's what Vyman thinks was the lady's name.
Yeah. So my grandmother's a twin. She's Daisy, and her twin is Pansy.
Oh, really? Is Pansy a real flower?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know if I could pick it up in a lineup, but I knew it was flower.
Daisy, white petals, yellow middle, right?
Good job, bud.
Yep. All right. Moving on. So he starts saying Tansy. I mean, I think we covered a lot of that pretty well, but he's saying
let's just say what he actually was saying.
Forgive me the blood, oh, please, Tansy. And then Kat's like, who was this? Some lady from a village. Then he says, dead, you'll have others, sweet babes and trueborn. And that's the line that Kat kind of like focuses on later.
Mm-hmm. And there's one more.
Be a good wife, and the gods will bless you. Sons, trueborn sons. He gave a sudden spasm of pain that made Lord Hoster's hand tighten. Yeah. So Vyman comes in, poppies him up.
And she obviously asked about this Tansy person. Like, who's that? Like, was this girl around? Like, she's thinking, was my dad stepping out on mom?
Well, she's been gone for quite some time. The mom's been gone for quite some time. Like,
Yeah.
Was it pre-mom?
Yeah.
Like for somebody from his youth. And Vyman says the only person that he remembers that might have been named like that was some old lady who used to come around to
She needed
put soles
shoes.
on shoes.
her name was Violet.
Violet. Yeah, Cat remembers that lady.
He's just a little bit skittish because what's his name, Sir Desmond, told him like, "Hey, don't be talking too much outside the job. Don't be talking to her.
Yep.
We need to stay firm."
Yep. And then basically he leaves. She watches for the boat all day long. And then he comes back.
Yep.
And when he comes in there, a raven had come, and she thinks like, "Oh fuck! The last raven that came told me my 2 kids were dead."
Dark wings, dark words.
Dark wings, dark words. Wonder what this one's gonna say. So when Vyman shows up, she kind of starts like prodding for some info.
It's funny, right? Because she asks about Tansey's confirmed not to have been around River Run, right? And so then the Ravens. Oh, is it Jamie? Did Jamie get caught? Like, she could have asked about Rob first, maybe. Like, how's Rob doing? Is it like, all right, where are your priorities at?
Yeah, she was worried about her own.
It's like Danny when she wakes up from her crazy tent dream. The first thing she cares about is eggs. Did you get all pissed off?
Yeah,
about that?
probably.
Like, not your baby.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I mean, I guess in a way you asked about Jamie is asking about Sansonaria, but like, all right, like you got another guy, you got another one too.
First thing Jeff thinks of every morning better be Danielle, I guess.
I would say.
So he ends up getting the info. It is from Rob. It is info about Rob.
Mm-hmm. And he took a wound, but nothing to fear while taking the crag.
Yep. But basically, Vyman, he gives up that much, but he doesn't give up anything else. It seems like he might know a little bit more, but yeah,
and
he's
he
like,
wishes
he
wishes to return soon as well.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes this cat chapters for the future at least kind of shitty, right? Because she's not even getting good information from anybody. Like, we're not even learning anything from the outside. This guy's just like, yeah, Rob, he's alive, hurt.
I mean, Edmure does show up and then just drop it all.
I guess you're right.
Edmure is an info bomb for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so she goes to sleep and she dreams about her formless children, dead and lost. So not sure what actually goes on in this dream, but her kids are involved.
Yeah, and then that's important because at the very end of the chapter ends with like, she was so tired, she wanted nothing more to sleep, and she went to bed praying for no dreams or something like that. So clearly, whatever the dreams are, they're not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're about like all her kids that are missing or gone, which is pretty much everybody except for Rob.
Yeah. So
Jeff, where is that part? I'm sorry to.
It's the end of 30. It's top of 38.
Okay, thank you.
And then she wakes up to the words again, right? Like just playing in her mind, kind of. I don't. Like, part of the dream, I don't know, or she's just thinking now, awake. But just reliving the words Hoster was saying.
Sweet babes and trueborn were the ones that she was like focusing on. Yep.
And then he does wake up. He just kind of like blurts out.
Well, then she goes through the whole story about the wedding.
Yeah, this is kind of where she's putting it all in her head.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about already. I'm not trying to bring it back up.
The one thing that she does say is that Lysa had 5 miscarriages, 2 in the Erie, 3 in King's Landing. And then that's kind of what like...
That confirms that the first one was a miscarriage to her?
Well, she thinks that, and then she thinks like, okay, so she had these 5 miscarriages, but none of them were at River Run. So like Hoster wouldn't have been talking to her about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, unless she and her sister had been married on the same day and left in her father's care when their new husbands had ridden off to rejoin Robert's rebellion. Afterwards, when their moon blood did not come at the accustomed time, Lysa had gushed happily of the sons that she was certain they carried. Your son will be the heir to Winterfell, and mine to the Eyrie. Oh, they'll be the best of friends, like your Ned and Lord Robert. They'll be more brothers than cousins. Truly, I just know it. She was so happy, but Lysa's blood had come not long after, and all the joy had gone out of her. Catelyn had always thought that Lysa had simply been a little late, but if she had been with child, ...
Tansy.
So, let's go over some of these ages.
Okay.
At the wedding, Kat is 18, Ned's 19, Lysa is 16, and John is 64. John Harron is 64.
Good God.
John's dead at this point, right? He dies basically at the start of the first book, but he would be 82 right now. And Hoster's 62 right now.
Who's 62?
Hoster.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So Kat says like he's older than like our dad. He's 20 years older. Than
Yeah, super old.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So like, yeah, no, it kind of makes a lot of sense why. Again, I don't know if you can explain Lysa. Lysa was super crazy when we saw her. We didn't see her a lot, but we saw her through some of those Tyrion and Cat chapters, right, in book 1. Kind of psycho.
Yeah,
but yeah, she's gone through a lot.
I think the other crazy thing is like just the life expectancy. Like, couldn't have been around this high, right? Like 64 has got to be
it's got to be high, but
surpassing the
Lords. I assume Lords had it higher just because you had better diets.
Like how old's Walter?
100. I think he's close to 100, right?
I don't know if he's that old, but
yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I'm agreeing with your point, Nelson, that the Lords kind of have the more care
Lords
and
had
the
a better
easier life.
shot.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just thinking like Ned dies. I don't know when Ned, Robert, they die young.
But I mean, I'd probably put it at like 40 to 60, Jeff. I know that's a huge range.
I might be totally wrong about this, but I thought I heard somewhere, it might have been like just a fake place on the internet, so don't take this with a grain of salt. But I thought I heard somewhere that like the reason that life expectancy was like the average life expectancy was way lower in like the Middle Ages and stuff was because like half the kids didn't get past 2, which just pulls your average down a ton.
Well, yeah, that does crush it.
So like, yeah, the life expectancy is 34, but half people aren't making it past a year old. So the people who do make it past a year old actually normally make it to like 45. You know what I mean? So again, I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes sense. It makes sense as a numbers guy.
I mean, the math makes sense unless they're cutting those out.
Exactly. They might just rule those out too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what do we need to pick up on? She had Rob.
She basically calls him out.
Yeah. Oh, she goes up to him, and, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, does she? Like, again.
That's what we're saying. Like, this is all in her head, and it makes a lot of sense. But
still, this is Cat. This is just Cat being the worst.
I'm on the other way here. I think she's pretty on it here.
She very might well be on something, or she could might well be completely off.
Yeah, or she could, or a little column A, little column B. Have some of it right, not all of it right. You know
yeah, I mean, I'm sure she's...
Or not know all the information type thing.
She's taken 4 sentences from a dying man who can't even say her name right now and piecing together how long ago? 20 years ago? She's piecing
together something that's probably been odd to her whole life and that she's been trying to figure out her whole life.
But to Jeff's point, she's like really patting herself on the back here. Like, listen to what she thinks. She says, "Father, I know what you did. She was no longer an innocent bride with a head full of dreams. She was a widow, a traitor, a grieving mother, and wise in the ways of the world." Like, good job, me. You really figured it out. I'm so wise. I know what you did, Pops.
I thought she was talking about
that first one wasn't a miscarriage. Like, what if it was just a true miscarriage and it fits in with the other 5 that she's going to end up having?
There you go.
But she is saying, I know what you did with...
Well, does having an abortion, especially one back in whatever method these people have, does that make you more susceptible to miscarriages?
Very possible. I don't know the science. The only thing, as I'm saying, is she is saying by fact that she knows what he did, and
like I said, I feel like she's on something. You're right, Nelson. That is a little big headed. I thought she was talking about Lysa when I read that, but you're right. I think she is talking about herself being wise in the ways of the world. But
like after she just made the biggest mistake of the war, like
how big you're 100%, yeah.
Again, I like to play devil's advocate sometimes, and up to this point, I agree. I'm just gonna take the devil's advocate point. Does giving Jaime up really, like Jeff said earlier, like, oh, you get two girls for thousands of lives in the war. Like, how much does Jaime really matter? Like, he's not the king. He's a king.
It's not exactly what Jeff was saying.
I'm not saying Jaime matters too much. Like, Jaime's not going out and killing 1,000 people now.
I know that's not what you're saying. He's a commander though, so he does have a bigger impact than just like a normal good fighter, because he was commanding armies when he was taken. My point is, it's not like I just said, it's the biggest problem so far in the war. Is it really? Like, is that the biggest thing so far? How much does it really matter? Just to play devil's advocate.
How much does holding on to Jaime stop Tywin from doing something?
Yeah.
So, like, they could set up a siege around Riverrun, and if they just put Jaime like at gunpoint per se, like, Does that, can they like, okay, like, all right, we got your girls at gunpoint too, but they're at least at a standoff then, you know,
it's like a one get out. It's like you have one get out of jail free card in the war and you gave that up.
Yeah.
So it could be super important later. It's kind of hard to tell. It's situational.
Like
he is a massive bargaining chip, right?
If at some point you wanted to be like, all right, we will stop all this. You give us these 2 girls back. We'll go, like, say they even like forfeit or surrender and they're like, all right, we'll go back to the way it was. But like, you guys fucked up. If they don't have Jaime, do they even care? Do they just beat them and then start over in the north?
I mean, again, on paper, Jaime's just a Kingsguard, right? Again, I don't think that's exactly how his family members see it. Like Cersei, who has a relationship with him.
He's definitely a driving force of the cause of this war.
Yeah, but theoretically, he's just like a nameless, like, it's almost like Night's Watch where you give away your last name and you become a Kingsguard. Not really, because like it's like a very
we've even learned that in the Night's Watch they're still calling people Lord and shit. So I don't even want to hear that anymore. People are still getting preferential treatment up there. So
for sure.
Whatever. Yeah, I don't know. There's 2 big things of why I dislike Cat on this chapter. So, and I think that probably fuels why I don't like her.
Again, I don't think it's a good move. I just like I caught myself saying she made the worst move of the war, and I don't think maybe it's not.
Forget about the move. It's just her personality. It's just her personality. She made the biggest decision on her own that was not her decision at all, and she is just so like, oh, I know what you did. Like, imagine if she was the judge of anything, like the judge and jury. And
I think you're removing so much context to get to this
off
point.
With his head, like she would just make decisions off of her whims of what she believes happened. That like
she's a by the seat of her pants type girl for sure.
Just think about when she took Tyrion. Like it was like, nope, you're coming. Boom, you're dead. I'm killing you.
Yeah, it's weird too because the way the chapters are written, even if she does have like intention, like things pre-planned out, we don't know it because it's more surprising if we don't know it, right? So like think about the last chapter in Clash of Kings. She goes down and she holds the sword to Jaime's chest, and then the chapter ends. But she had the plan to get Jaime drunk, right? She sent him the wine before like they even went down there. Like before they went down there, was this her plan? If so, you know what I mean? Like it seems less seat of her pantsy. Because otherwise, like maybe she was in there and just like came up with it like in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? I'm freeing you.
I agree with what you're saying, Nelson. Yeah, maybe this was a pre-planned thing.
It's hard to tell because of the way it was written. Not that it excuses everything, but
yeah, I mean, I don't think it excuses anything. So she writes a letter to Lysa. Dad's struggling with what he's done to you. Come see him before he dies. Blah 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 blah. Mace was like, "Look, this Raven's not even going to get there and back before he's croaking. Yeah. He's making the turn." And she goes to light some candles at the sept.
He's been just this dead pretty much the entire time that I've known him, right?
Yeah. How long have we been around now? So that's a good point.
He died. So I looked up the timeline because when Ned died, it's been 9 months since Ned died. And probably about another 6 months before that-ish that we heard that he was sick, but we definitely didn't see him before then. So we've only seen him for like maybe 6 months. You know what I mean? Maybe 9 months we've seen him, but still, like, yeah, he's been on the edge of life for a long time in the medieval time when there's
that's
not
longer than this guy is trying to say, I think.
But yeah, so he writes a letter. She writes a letter. She goes to light candles. She lights a candle for the father, for her own father, to the crone. This is some weird like religion history here. For the crone who let the first raven into the world when she looked through the door of death. Just a cool like
kind of symbolism to why ravens are
bad, but also the reason Kat's lighting this is because she just sent this raven to Lysa, so she's like, I guess the crone is like the raven god, kind of, which is also makes me think of Odin. I've been doing a lot of Norse mythology reading recently.
Okay.
And last one to the mother for Lysa and all of her children she's lost.
Yeah. So she's back into her room or the dad's room then?
Yeah. And there's a weird line here. Maybe it doesn't matter, but she said that she sat reading the same passage in a book and then she heard like a trumpet. Go off.
I didn't even think about it, but it makes sense to like, what's the book now? Is that the kind of the question?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, because there was another weird line that I thought was weird in like an Arya chapter where like Roose Bolton was like reading a book in Harrenhal, and like Arya walks in, and he just like closes it and puts the whole book in the fire.
Yeah.
And again, it seems like a throwaway line, but it's like, what the fuck? Like, was that an important book? Like, why did he do that?
Why did he throw this out? Yeah.
And like, yeah, like maybe Cat just like because there's a lot of shit going on. You know what I mean? Like you're just reading the same thing.
Yeah,
not
she can't
actually
get
taking it in.
Yeah, not
But,
understanding.
or is it like a prophecy book and Cat, like, you know what I mean, is trying to study this or like memorize? I don't know. I'm just like super sus looking out for this thing. I did do a quick Google and I saw nobody else questioning this, so it made me think she's just like lost in thought. But
I mean, it's definitely very like what the fuck, like the same passage over and over again. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
There's probably no other clues as to what book it could even be.
how
So
would
like,
we
why
find
would
out?
anybody else ask this question? Or not? Why would they ask it? But like, why would this be a big discussion online?
But like, what if in Winds of Winter somebody goes into Riverrun and they're like, in the Lord's Chamber, I found this book that had this weird highlighted passage, and the bookmark was left open. You know what I mean? Then it's like, holy fuck! Then we got that's the type of shit that happens in Game of Thrones sometimes.
You tell me when that happens. My guess is like you said before, though. She's just not. Nothing's clicking. She's just kind of reading, and it's just like, fuck. What did I just read? Go back over and over again.
So she hears the trumpets and she goes to the balcony. You can't really see, but she can hear. So she goes all the way up to the roof, which is a little bit of a poor thought. Poor thought by the, like, I guess she could jump from the balcony too if she really wanted to. She promised that she wasn't going to escape. I'm thinking more or less like, what if she like decided to kind
Like
of
a sheet rope where you tie a bunch of sheets together.
no,
to climb
I'm not-
down.
Jeff's thinking suicide.
I'm thinking suicide. Yeah.
Why
Like,
would
she
Why would
said,
she
like,
do that?
I mean, her family's
I
falling
mean,
apart.
I don't know. Like, yeah.
Especially with the news at the end, because especially with what Edmure tells her, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but she thinks like it's a wash. She thinks there's not a shot after what Edmure tells
Yeah.
her. So like, yeah, roof time, maybe. I
Maybe.
can see. I wouldn't be surprised.
Because I don't
I mean-
know. Like, I don't know. Maybe she could jump from the balcony into the river and then, like, survive. I don't know how deep the river is.
I thought you were going for escape at first, but
Yeah.
she is going through a lot.
Yeah. I mean, mother's madness. She's already mad in their eyes. Like, I don't know.
Fair.
But yeah, it's Edmure. He comes to her a few hours later, and
Yep.
she notes that in between the time he comes, a few ravens get sent out.
3.
And he doesn't look good when he comes in.
Yeah, why? I mean, just is he not getting any food out on the trail?
So he tells her that like he threw back the Lannisters across the river. Didn't we know that? Like
yeah.
like the last cat chapter we got news of that. He hadn't come back yet, but we had got like word that like, oh, we beat the mountain, like he's not here anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I
Or
thought.
at least like we saw him fighting on the river or something.
Well, yeah, she was seeing some of the fighting.
Yeah,
up
I
closer,
remember
yeah.
her seeing them get pushed back, but beyond that,
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Okay. I don't remember exactly either. I think there was either a chapter or two that took place over the course of like a week or two, and there was battles all along. They were trying different spots along the
Yeah,
river.
yeah, they're probing.
So he lets her know that the Lannisters beat Stannis on the Blackwater, and she's like, "Okay, like why the hell are you so upset? Like that's all right. I don't like Stannis. He killed Renly in front of me with a shadow."
But she like didn't really tell. I guess she tell him about that because she said like
I
don't
thought she
think she
pulled him
told
away
him.
at the beginning. Remember, we kind of
yeah, but she definitely didn't tell him on page. But it did seem like she gets to Riverrun and then pulls him aside, and then the chapter kind of ends.
yeah.
but
So
I don't
let's
know.
let's infer that she told him that something weird happened, whether he believes her or not. But it's not so much that like it's the Stannis of it all. It's just that now Dorne and Highgarden have joined the Lannisters and made themselves extremely more powerful than us.
Yeah, that's what Edmure's saying. Is like that's the big problem. Is it's everyone versus us now.
Massive
It
army.
Was like
And you just gave back Jaime.
yeah, exactly.
And she still defends that she has the mother's right for it.
It's weird because like Kat's a little bit like me, where in her head she's like, okay, I know I'm wrong. Like all chapters, she's like, I kind of fucked up. Like I probably shouldn't have done that. But then like when she gets called on it, she'll like defend it like tooth and nail. You know what I mean? Like I did nothing wrong. Fuck you.
Yeah. And she's using kind of their own words. Like this is kind of her claiming mother's madness to Edmure almost.
Yeah. After earlier when she said, no, I'm not going to take
Yeah.
that excuse to Desmond.
Well,
You know what I mean?
and she even like cleans it up. She calls it a right. So now it's like something you would have maybe not. I mean, we're not that young. It's not like we're in too much history of, but in no other mention of this story anywhere has there been a mom that says, I have the mother's right to do X, Y, or Z. So she's just kind of pulling this out of her ass, like I have the mother's right to do whatever I
feel
want.
like that's a universal kind of thing, like moms say or feel, right? It's a mother's right to look through her son's room for paraphernalia.
Sure.
With what Jeff said, there's like we haven't heard of like a precedented like.
Yeah.
And I know, but I guess what I'm saying is that's kind of
Yeah.
like one of those unwritten like bullshit rules, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think like nowadays it'd be like absolutely a mom's kicking a door down to go through, look under the bed and look under the mattress to see what we're hiding. But in this time period where the mothers are more or less there to bear children and raise the children,
that's true.
Not make a decision like
No.
they're not just holding this like get out of jail free card because they're the mother is what I'm saying.
But like,
I don't know if it's get out of jail free card. I think it's more of just like that's where my decision was coming from.
Yeah, I get that too. I do get that too.
To Kyle's side, like I didn't Joffrey say, and he definitely said it in the show. Like when he orders Ned's head cut off, he's like, "My mother and betrothed want me to give mercy and send him to the wall, but they have the soft hearts of women."
Absolutely.
Right? Or something like that. So again, it's along the same lines where it's like you're taking this like, oh, I'm more caring, and that's my excuse. Is I feel like it's kind of what Joffrey was faulting them for, but what Kat is relying on here.
Yeah. So then the next piece of her kind of just backing up her decision was that Brienne's going to keep Jaime safe, and you could just tell from Edmure's reaction that nobody thinks that highly of Brienne.
Yeah.
She swore it on her sword.
Kat's the only one that's seen her in action, though.
That's true.
That woman?
And Edmure's like, Cersei doesn't give a fuck. Cersei's not going to listen. And again, this is where, like, Kat's got to be realizing, like, fuck, Edmure's kind of right here. Like, Tyrion doesn't run everything in King's Landing. And again, he tells him especially, oh yeah, Tyrion's probably dead. So he definitely doesn't run anything in King's
he's
Landing.
definitely not the hand anymore, even if he lives.
Yeah, so I think that was something what I said in the spoiler section. It was something I was gonna possibly bring up in the not spoiler section in the Jaime chapter too. Like I was just like wondering if you were gonna be thinking about that. Like we know that he's not in charge anymore.
That's fair. No, I didn't even really think about it.
Again, it doesn't really matter when we hear it here. So
one chapter later we got to it, but
where did we leave? Where was the last Tyrion chapter?
He was in his bed over top of
He's
Cersei's hall
bed.
or whatever.
Did he like wake up? Like Did he got out of bed? Did he walk anywhere?
He like pulled down the not the maester, but whoever that dude was.
They put him back to sleep, right?
Yeah, they poured like wine in his face and just pretty much just milk of the poppy over and over again. He's getting the hospitality treatment.
Yeah. All right. So Edmure sent ravens to Bolton at Harrenhal.
I guess all three went to Bolton because the message has to
definitely send out the word, and they sent word downriver too. So he should definitely get the word, and it's worded as an escape, not as a prisoner exchange, which kind of pisses off Kat because she wanted the word to get out as prisoner exchange.
Yes, exactly.
And there's also 1,000 dragon bounty on his head.
Well, yeah, because now like if the word just goes around. Right, and like it goes to Bolton first, but then from there, Bolton's men hear it, and then it just like the word spreads that Jaime escaped. Even if Jaime makes it to King's Landing, and Brienne is like, "Oh no, trust me, there was an exchange." If they'd already heard about this in King's Landing that Jaime escaped, then it's game over.
Well, that's fair too. Yeah, I didn't even think about that side.
I think that's what Kat's saying is like we're beat then.
Well, no, she's saying now the entire realm is hunting him, and they're out for blood.
That's what I thought too. But
she says both, I think.
It does make sense. Like if Brienne takes him there, but whatever. Yeah.
I have a big problem with the money thing. Like Edmure, you really think you're gonna outbid like a hunting party?
Once you put a price on it, and then Tywin says we'll give you 2,000 or
exactly
20,000.
The hunting parties you're bidding on, anyone who's like their loyalty is questionable, it's all to the money. And that's kind of what you started that with by suggesting a price.
Yeah.
Now you
I didn't even think about that, but that's definitely
$2,000.
$100,000. Like the Lannisters are like rich, right?
No, I know. I just meant he's gonna keep outbidding him.
Yeah. I do have the map here. I mean, we kind of did we look at it last week?
No.
We'll look at it quick here. Why not?
On the map.
Plus,
on the map.
The Boltons are known for not taking like people. Not treating people well, right? So
your banners are a flayed man.
Yeah, if they catch Jaime, it's very likely that he's going to end up dead.
Well, not if they don't get that 1K They want that 1,000. Here's the map. It's a river run. This is Kat mentions at one point in the chapter that the Tumblestone and the Red Fork meet, and that's kind of what she was looking out on, right? So, and she says she's looking out to the east. So she's looking out to the east. This is where Jamie and Brienne are rowing currently. It's down this Red Fork, past the Inn of the Kneeling Man. Maybe that was the inn that got burned down. I don't remember. Like that, where they saw the dead ladies hanging, but that's where they're at. They're probably actually not that far yet, but they're somewhere on that path. And that's why Harrenhal is important here, because you either get off the boat and you follow that dotted line right next to the river, or you keep going down the river. And either way, you're going pretty close to Harrenhal.
Yeah.
So if they can get news to Harrenhal, then pretty much anywhere north of the the God's Eye, that lake there is just going to have people searching. That's what we got map wise.
Great map.
I think that's pretty much the end of the chapter, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
She kicks Edmure out because she's pissed because of everything we said. Like, he doesn't stand a chance now. So she kicks him out and wants to go to bed and hopes for no dreams.
Bam.
And that's it. Next one, Arya. First Arya chapter of the book.
I saw that.
Goat.
Should be a good one. Well, last we saw her, she escaped Harrenhal.
Well, yeah. So I'm interested to see where she's headed. I know she wanted to go to Riverrun, so hopefully.
I don't even remember like how far.
They're
like
right there,
time,
I think.
Like where the I mean
they killed the
like
guard
walking?
and it was like on the other side of the fence.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, we'll find out what's going on with her in the next chapter. See Kyle then, and we'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. Bye, Kyle.
No cat predictions for Kyle?
I mean, I was gonna try and say one, but I felt like it was gonna be cliche, like Brienne and I guess Kat is different than Brienne.
I mean, you could give us what do you think happens
Kat.
with Brienne, Jamie?
No, I want to figure out what's going on back in Riverrun. That's what I'm gonna try and do. So
take a dive like Kat might do off the balcony.
So I think the real next big thing that can happen is Hoster can die.
Yes.
I think that's the next like turning point here. So I think Hoster's going to die, and things are going to really change at Riverrun.
What changes really? Edmure now just has.
Well, Edmure's going to officially take over, but I feel like he's going to. I mean, he kind of already is in that position, but I think he's going to embrace the position a little closer, and like I said, change rules, change the way it's run officially.
I don't know if we mentioned, but there is a time where somebody calls him Lord Edmure already.
Yeah.
Herself,
no,
right, yeah.
And they've been doing it for weeks now, or for chapters now. Yeah. But it's gonna officially happen.
Yep.
So all right, that's I don't know the
all
great
right,
impact.
We'll take it.
All right, good prediction. We'll see how that turns out, and we'll see you in the next one for Arya 1. Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
Later, nerds. Did I say that already?
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you later. Now, on to the spoiler section of Cat 1. Nelson, what are your hot takes?
I mean, hot take big one was gonna be Tansy, but Kyle kind of nailed it.
Yeah, no, I mean, he definitely picked up on it better than I thought. I don't think he knows that Tansy was the vehicle used for the miscarriage.
Yeah, Tansy is like the ingredient, one of the key ingredients to make the Plan B potion, right? Basically.
And I definitely believe that Kyle even mentioned this was that the tea probably forced the next 5.
Exactly. That had an impact on her reproductive system somehow. And yeah, because even the kid she does have, right? Because she did have a kid eventually, Robert Aaron.
Yeah.
Sweet Robin. And he's not normal.
He's not.
I mean, again, it's one of those things like nature versus nurture. She's kind of deranged by the point she had him. So how much of his like being a weird kid is because his mom is still breastfeeding him at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not his.
Yeah, for sure. There's one big quote though that really kind of perked my ears up because I knew obviously it was about Lysa. I didn't know how much Kyle was gonna pick up on. And I think he did pick up on a lot. So like I don't even know if we need to like at the end of the day we're gonna just repeat everything he said.
Yeah, I think we pretty much talked about the thing that surprised me that I was gonna say. The quote that I had was.
Well, let me say it. I didn't say it yet.
Okay.
I'm dropping the bomb first. He says, "Be a good wife, and the gods will bless you." And I think He'd bless you with sons and trueborn sons and whatnot. But we know she wasn't a good wife, and maybe she was a good wife for. She definitely stopped being a good wife, right? Because she kills him, and she was probably banging Littlefinger behind the scenes.
I think there's a theory that you would probably actually like called "the seed is strong."
Yeah,
which is where like when Jon Arryn says the seed is strong, it's not only about Joffrey being a bastard, but it's also about he somehow learned that his seed wasn't strong and Littlefinger's seed was strong, which is why the 2 times again Lysa was actually gonna have a kid. It was with Littlefinger, not with Jon.
Yeah,
and that somehow the miscarriages were because of Jon not having strong swimmers or something.
Yeah,
like that, I don't know if that's even possible.
I don't know if that.
I think there's a theory along those lines, though.
I don't hate it. I'm not surprised if Robin is not Jon's.
Except for the fact that it seems like we're Littlefinger, and this is the only other thing I had for this one, is I think it's kind of interesting how Kat, I thought went like, she didn't go too deep into it, but went like strangely like focused on why it was important for Jon to marry Lysa. His first 2 wives had left him childless. His brother's son had been murdered with Brandon Stark in King's Landing. His gallant cousin had died in the Battle of the Bells. Yeah. So basically, we're going down the list of heirs 3. Littlefinger will take this down 9 more until and I think Dance of Dragons or Feast of Crows when he's with Elaine, maybe it's a Winds of Winters
to figure out who the heir is.
Basically, when he explains why Harry the heir is the heir. Okay. I think that's in a normal regulation book chapter.
Yeah, I remember. I'm pretty sure I remember. I don't know how deep it goes, but
I think he's basically 12th. I think Harry is 12th in line after, like, if all these other people wouldn't have died, but they all did. And the only one who's in between Harry now is Robin, and then everyone else is just dead except for Harry. So I just think it's kind of weird how I feel like we're touching on the Jon Arryn heir problem already, kind of setting up maybe Harry the heir stuff in the future.
What's also weird is that she's thinking that, okay, Lysa was about to have a bastard, but she doesn't think at all who the father of that bastard is.
Exactly. That's a good point, too.
And it's huge. Like, she's breaking down everything else, and, like, it never even crossed her mind.
So what I was thinking about for this was when they don't, so they get married, and then Ned and Jon go off, and Kat and Lysa both think they're pregnant.
Right. With their husband's child.
Sure, maybe Lysa at that point thinks it's Littlefinger's. But I always got the impression that when Lysa thought she got pregnant was the time Littlefinger snuck into her bedroom and called her Kat.
Right, agreed. Right? That's what.
Which was at the tournament, no? I thought that was after the duel.
Oh,
maybe not. Because Littlefinger was too fucked up then to... Because she says that Lysa went to him. Yeah, she went to him after the duel.
I would say it's the duel of the Lyanna tourney, maybe. Where was he then? Was that too early?
No, that was at Harrenhal. But I thought all those took place at... When would he have been drunk? When would Littlefinger have been drunk? I forget what...
I feel like we get the story from...
I feel like we should have known that. I should know that already, right?
I feel like you should know that. Was it like Kat's name day, or like the day Kat got promised to Brandon and he got like super drunk in his feels about it?
So Brandon dueled Littlefinger, right? And Littlefinger got hurt bad. So it couldn't have been then because he was too injured.
Right.
At that point. The time it was, he was really drunk. Littlefinger was really drunk.
I remember that part of it.
Why was Littlefinger really drunk?
You're gonna have to do some research.
Maybe Littlefinger got really drunk when Kat married Ned because he was jealous. That's probably what it was.
That's what sense. I'm saying. Like
he just got really drunk because he was kind of pissed off at everything.
Was Kat promised to Brandon, but Brandon not there yet to duel? Like, was it the first time? And like just the thought that she would marry someone else, he got drunk and snuck to her bedroom before Brandon made it his way down the Winterfell. Like the promise was out there, but Brandon wasn't there yet.
That's what I'm saying. Is it has to be way after Brandon. Like Brandon, it couldn't have been because of Brandon. Like Littlefinger couldn't have gone to Lysa because of Brandon. Or
would they have been too young at the time?
Just because it had to be closer to the wedding. And Brandon was dead by the time the wedding happened. Or else
that's true.
She would be marrying Brandon and not Ned. All right.
Okay. I mean, you should know this.
I think you're right that it's like Littlefinger was like, oh fuck, Kat's actually getting married now. Now I'm actually screwed. My chance is completely gone. And it was probably just at that wedding, at the Ned and Kat wedding that happened.
Yeah. Nelson. Kyle brought up Littlefinger at that point too.
we just
ignored
it,
it.
which I think sometimes is a giveaway, but I don't know. Maybe he actually thought we just didn't hear.
I don't know what could we have said, like, oh yeah, maybe he was the father.
There's no one else that we know was like diddling with the Stark girls,
except like,
or I guess the Tully girls.
The two names that were given to us today are the only other two like River Run people that I would even have a shot at guess. I don't know anybody else's name from River Run.
Authorized Wayne. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all we know. Yeah, is them. That's what we don't know many River Run people. But yeah, that's all I had.
All right, same. Good work, Kyle.
Yeah, nailed it.
Not a fan of the book so far. 2 chapters in.
Next one, I don't know if he's going to be a fan. Again, it's kind of just like Arya writing a little bit of a recap of like kind of what happened with them. But at the end, I'm pretty sure, I haven't actually read it, but I'm pretty sure at the very end, she goes to sleep. She basically is telling Gendry and Hotbar the whole time they're not allowed to go to sleep or they're going to get caught up to. Also, interesting that Kyle didn't point out, and this is kind of why I brought up the map at the end. Jaime's going towards Harrenhal. Arya's coming from Harrenhal towards Riverrun. I would have expected that he would have guessed that they would cross paths.
Mm. Yeah, well, that's why I asked him, like, well, what do you think about Brienne and Jaime? And he just said, I want to figure out what's going on in Riverrun.
And they kind of do cross paths. I'm pretty sure Jaime and Brienne basically get off
I'm sure
their boat.
They have to.
They get off their boat.
They get on a boat? Or
they get off their boat at an inn and then get horses or something like that. And then Arya shows up and sees the boat and then wants to take the boat.
Yeah.
But then that's where she gets captured by the Brotherhood Without Banners. Is at that inn. The inn, there's 2 people who are working at the inn work for the Brotherhood Without Banners. They work for Beric and them. So when Jaime and them come through, they tell Jaime, like, in Brienne, oh, take the road to the left, not the road to the right. The road to the right's bad. There's outlaws there. And then when they get to the fork, Jaime and Brienne both decide to take the road that they said not to because they knew that they were actually the outlaws. Like, Jaime and Brienne both outsmarted them. But Arya and them just fall right into their clutches. But they basically get to the same inn.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so they kind of cross paths. They don't actually see each other, but like one Arya chapter picks up at the same place that like the last Jaime chapter left off. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So, but yeah, that was it. Kyle did a good job. But yeah, what I was gonna say is the next Arya chapter ends with she's saying like, "Oh, we can't go to sleep. We have to keep riding. They're chasing us. They're gonna be hunting us." And when she finally does go to sleep, she becomes Nymeria and kills
the people hunting.
Like 3 of the people. Vargo Hoat's people that we know about.
And then they run scared back to Harrenhal.
I don't think Arya even quite knows exactly that she did that.
Yeah.
That like what she did.
That it was a wolf dream. Like she just thinks it was an actual dream. Wow. Yeah. That's wild. Yeah. Excited for that. I don't remember that one.
Not a super great, like super interesting chapter next time, but it has a good ending, I think. So
alrighty.
We'll see you guys there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.